this edition of Bronx Talks, we're going to be talking about Cody Bellinger, Freddy Peralta, the Yankees and their creativity, and what's next for the New York Yankees. But we have a special guest, Francis from NYYU. How you doing today, Francis?
Hanging in there, man. Thank you guys for having me. Excited to do this.
Of course. Happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Not a lot to get excited about, I feel like, in Yankee land right now. That could change, but I mean, just in terms of like general baseball news, because me and Ryan, we haven't been on since the Dodgers' big bomb. Oh my gosh. I mean, to go win back-to-back World Series and then go and sign the best player in free agency with just an absurd contract. Crazy. And then the Mets, who wanted Tucker, then pivot to Bichette, who we were talking about a lot. I know you guys were talking about him a lot at NYY Underground. So the big names are kind of off the board, and now it's Bellinger. How are we feeling about that? Because I think you called that, right? You said this was going to happen, Francis.
Yep. Yeah, I gotta say I'm feeling not good, even though it's something that I called was going to happen. I knew it wouldn't feel good when it happened, because now it feels as if Scott Boras has the Yankees right where he wants them. And I don't necessarily love the Yankees' chances of coming out of this, with a real win. I almost feel like it's a lose-lose situation. And I know that, some people would disagree with that because they feel like, you absolutely have to have Cody Bellinger back, which at this point, I'm inclined to agree. But at what price, right? At what cost? I mean, if they get him back at his terms, it's going to be a real long contract that's going to age pretty poorly. And if they don't get him back, well, that might be worse than the poorly aging contract. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it right now. It's not a good feeling.
Yeah, and that was like the interesting thing that I think came out like a couple days ago when Bob Clappish reported that the Yankees, they're not going to go into a bidding war with Cody Bellinger. They're staying firm at their 5 years, 160 million. I think there was a couple reports that they had like two opt-outs in there, but it doesn't look like the Yankees are going to go above that. Like if a team like the Toronto Blue Jays or the New York Mets come in there and give a bigger offer than the Yankees, he could very well just end up signing there. I think the Yankees know that, if you went out and you give Cody Bellinger 7 years, I mean, that's just a disaster. You don't know how he's going to age with that. And he's been an inconsistent player like his whole career. He'll have really, really good years. He had that MVP year. He had a really good year with the Cubs, but then he also had a down year. So he's kind of up in the air. I think it's going to be interesting for sure to see where he ends up, but I don't know if it's going to be the Yankees. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, and that's where it's tough too, because like I don't know where you guys are at exactly, but this is essentially running it back even if we do get him. And I think that's kind of the narrative that you were, telling people, Francis, and trying to warn them. Like, they are going to try and hype this up as like, we spent all offseason negotiating with this guy, doing our best, and we got our guy, when it's like, okay, nice, but you're the same team that you were last year, minus a strong part of your bullpen, Weaver and Williams. I know Devin wasn't that great, but they still contributed. You don't have Paul Goldschmidt, who really helped you, not be so lefty heavy. Like, it's not just running it back. And even if you are running it back, the Blue Jays were miles better than you.
Yeah,
And
I'm
who's to
with
say
you.
a guy like Trent Grisham could reproduce, like put up the
Yeah,
same
there's
production he did last
way
year?
too many ifs.
Yeah, Grisham's a big if, by the way. I not to kind of beat a dead horse there. I know the Grisham stuff has been talked about ad nauseum, especially over the Yankees offseason, but I mean, it can't be understated how much pressure is being put on Trent Grisham to repeat what he did in 2025. And I told my buddy Pete, I feel like, dude, if he really believed that he was the player representative of the numbers he put up in 2025, I don't think he accepts a 1-year, $22 million deal. I think he accepted that deal precisely because he knows that the truth is that he's not the guy who put up those numbers in 2025. He's closer to more of the average player that he was before then. So chances of him repeating that, I don't know. And without Bellinger, those chances plummet.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. I'm not really sure what's going to happen to Cody Bellinger, but if you want to move on over to Freddy Peralta, he's a guy I think the Yankees definitely need to go out and acquire. He's 29 years old, only making $8 million in 2026, made 33 starts last year, 2.70 ERA. Like, when are you going to get the opportunity to bring in a legitimate ace for this type of price? 1 year deal. He's only under contract for this year. Like, I think the Yankees 100% have to go out and make this move, because if you look at the players available left for the Yankees to get in free agency or on the trade block, there's no one really else that I think that could make a massive impact. There's smaller pieces, right? We've heard the alternatives like a Harrison Bader or a Luis Robert Jr., but I think that Freddie Peralta could make a real impact for the Yankees in 2026. And going into the season, that rotation is a little iffy because there's so many guys injured. You're going to have Cam Schlittler as your two. Ryan Weathers is going to step into things. Will Warren potentially as your three. I mean, we saw last season what happened in the beginning of the season. Carlos Carrasco was just getting shelled. And if the Yankees win a couple more games, right, they're division champs. So I think Freddie Peralta makes a ton of sense. What do you think about that, Francis?
Yeah, Freddie Peralta makes all the sense in the world for all the reasons you just stated. I love Freddie Peralta. He last year, the Brewers opened here in the Bronx, and we got to see Freddie Peralta early. And I'm pretty sure you guys remember that was a pretty good start for him. The Yankees
Yeah.
did end up winning that game, but Peralta looked very good. Like, he had the Yankees off balance and uncomfortable up and down the lineup. This is a guy who's a really solid starting pitcher, and he's an addition that, make no mistake, there's no question about it, it's the front end of the rotation. That's kind of what we've been looking toward. Ryan Weathers has front end potential, but I don't think anybody can guarantee him being a front end talent in 2026. We don't know
Yep.
that yet. Now, I'm of the belief, I'm of the belief that Ryan Weathers is going to be big time, like big time. I really love that kid and I love his stuff. I really do. Big fan of his, and I love the move, but you can't bank on that.
Yeah.
Freddie Peralta, you can take that to the bank. Like, this
Yeah.
guy is going to be one of your top three starters. Like, barring something unforeseen, he's going to give you that. So it's a definite no-brainer for the Yankees because it's $8 million. I mean, look,
Yeah.
Hal's whole thing has been lowering payroll, kind of being cautious with the additions of the money and stuff like that. Understood. Freddie Peralta fits that mold perfectly. He's an upgrade to the front end of your rotation, and he costs you damn near nothing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
And that's where I was going with it, because I kind of think the asking price is going to be an Elmer Rodriguez. And I mean, I will never be one to be like, oh, we can't trade away this guy. Like, he's our prospect. We saw Anthony Volpe come up through the system, untouchable, and look how it turned out, right? You're trying to win now. But we also had the Dodgers then swoop in, and I think it was Hector Gomez who reported on it that they were aggressively pursuing him. And look, I mean, part of that might just be the buzz, and you're trying to get clicks, right? Because the Dodgers are the hot topic. But if there is truth to that, and there very well could be, because they have one of the best farm systems in baseball, oh my gosh. At that point, how even if you get to the World Series, how are you even going to compete with that? But
you can't. That's why you need to go out there and bring him in. There was also a lot of reports too connecting him to the Yankees. I think Brendan Cootie said that the Yankees have quote unquote heavy interest in trying to acquire him, and then Mark Feinsand said that the Yankees and the Brewers were talking about a potential trade. I just think like you have to go out there and you got to bring in Freddie Peralta. Like, the Yankees have so much pitching depth too. Like Luis Heel, like Will Warren, Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, or Elmer Rodriguez, who we just talked about. He's not even the top Yankees pitching prospect. That's Carlos LaRange, right? So they have a lot of pitchers on that staff and in the minor leagues too. I think you could definitely trade away maybe a couple of them and be able to bring in Freddie Peralta, because the Brewers are going to look for control. They're a small market team. They want young, controllable arms. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, the Yankees would be giving up essentially a lot, but I think they have a ton of depth when it comes to starting pitching.
Yeah. I mean, that's well put. Just it's will they pull the trigger? It's will they make that extra move because they don't have to? And I mean, that's the problem, and that's where Yankees fans get frustrated. All we've heard this offseason is how confident they are in their team. And if you look at it, I mean, when healthy, the starting rotation might be the strongest piece. So
Yeah.
will the Yankees be willing to give up one of their young starting pitchers? I don't know. If it, where I would become a lot more favorable in this trade and where I think it could become sort of realistic is if the Brewers were looking for already major league talent. So, maybe it's not a LaGrange or an Elmer Rodriguez, even though they both might debut this year. Like a Will Warren in some pieces, a Luis Gil in those pieces, because those are guys that are not starting playoff games for you. So at the end of the day, they're going to help you in April and May, making starts, but they're not October guys. And that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. TJ Rumfield, too, another Yankees prospect, first baseman. Maybe he could go in a deal to Milwaukee because he doesn't have a lane with the Yankees on the big league team.
Yeah. I like the idea of Louis Gil going in a deal to Milwaukee for a myriad of reasons. I think one, Louis Gil somehow, some way still feels underrated to me here on the Yankees. I know he won the Rookie of the Year. I know you have a lot of people who do sing his praises, but you also have a lot of people who speak, down on Louis Gil because of the issues with control, the walks, the blow-ups every now and again. I think it gets kind of misunderstood. The kid's still a young guy, and he's got the arm of a god. I mean, this guy throws 100 miles an hour with nasty breaking stuff. And, sometimes we get on here, we sit here complaining about his control. People who've never thrown a baseball in their life. Do you know how hard it is to control a fastball going at 100 miles an hour or a breaking ball that has 6, 7, 8 inches of break? It's not easy. We see guys do it. It makes us think it's easy. It's not. Louis Gil has all the talent in the world to be a ace. I really truly believe that he can be an ace. I just don't see him being that for the New York Yankees, and I don't believe the Yankees see that. That's why they go out and they spend money at the top of their rotation. Now, in a place like Milwaukee, I think he has all the time in the world and all the shelter in the world to truly grow into that, much like a Freddy Peralta did. So I love that move, and I think they would like it because of the control on the back end of Louis Gil. So you get Louis Gil for at least another 3 years, I think. I don't want to speak out of turn. And then whatever other prospect we give them, you have all that, the clock hasn't even started on whoever we send there. I mean, if you can get that deal done for a Louis Gil and a Carlos Lagrange or a Louis Gil and an Elmer Rodriguez, which I know really hurts, I still do it because I do think it's that important for the Yankees in 2026.
Yeah, Luis Gil's cheap too. He's only making $2.1 million this year.
Yeah.
I think he's under control till 2029. So I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
4 more seasons then. Yeah.
Yeah, Milwaukee.
Or no, 2028. So he's 3 more. But I mean, that's still very valuable.
Yeah. Especially with the impending lockout, right? We can say that. I know it's not guaranteed, but it's all but guaranteed at this point. That's the kind of move that a team like the Brewers is actually appreciative of. You don't know what's going to happen between you and Freddie next year, but you can almost guarantee he's probably not re-signing with you guys because you guys don't spend big money, and he's a good starting pitcher who's going to make that big money. With Louis Gil, that kind of gives you at least some semblance of an idea, even post new CBA. You know that you're going up there with Jacob. I don't want to mess his name, Mishorowski or something like that. Yeah. And Louis Gil at the top of your rotation. You're kind of set if you're Milwaukee. You know where you're going in that route. So it's
100%.
It's kind of good. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I do. Ryan, you want to move on to the creativity? Because this was me and Ryan have been talking about this like increasingly more and more. And I feel like not a lot of other people are really talking about it. But we've seen, the Dodgers, Mets specifically, do a lot of these creative deals, whether it's deferred money, whether it's short-term contracts with high AAV, the Mets with Correa, even though the deal fell through, that was an example. We've seen, obviously the Tucker one, ridiculous, 4 years, 60 million AAV, crazy. Yankees don't really do that, and we were kind of trying to think back to the last unconventional contract that they've done like that. When everything is just years, I guess, because they want to keep payroll down. But what do you think about that?
It's a great idea. I 1000% am on your side in it. I think it was probably 4 weeks ago that I on NYY Underground was saying that I think the only path to a Bo Bichette Yankees marriage is through one of those creative deals, because
Yeah.
I didn't see the Yankees signing him long term. And Bo Bichette's a young guy; he's still in his 20s. He could
Yeah.
1000% have gotten a long term deal. You would assume, right? But I guess now we'll never know because he signed with the Mets on a short term creative deal. Literally the exact deal that I was hoping for with the Yankees. I was like, something 3 years, 4 years, something like the Correa deal, where it's going to be high AAV, yeah, but if it's horrible, you get to hit the eject cord in 2-3 years. That's not horrible, and the
Yeah.
Yankees can withstand a contract like that. When's the last time they done something like that? I mean, jokingly, the first thing that popped into my head was taking on Donaldson's contract years ago. To me, that was
yeah.
really creative because you took
JD.
50 million and you took money away from them so that they could land Carlos Correa. But honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember the last time they did a 2, 3, 4 year deal, high AAV that was just like, I don't know that they've ever done it. I don't know that
Yeah,
they've ever done it.
it's not just like big market teams too, like the Mets and the Dodgers. Like we've seen, I mean, the Red Sox are a big market team, but they don't obviously spend a ton of money. But even teams like the Red Sox have done it. It seems like the Yankees, they just don't want to go there at all. They have no interest in doing that. I find that really, really interesting. If I had to take a guess why, I would assume it's because in the Yankees' eyes, their payroll is high. And I mean, it kind of is. I mean, they're top 3 in payroll every year. You could argue that the Yankees should spend the most money because they make the most money. But I guess if we're thinking about why that's the case, like the Yankees are like, we're already going to be top 3 in payroll this year. If we bring on 40 million AAV, that's going to push us way over to the top, way past our budget. And they don't want to go there at all. I mean, if I just had to take a guess, I would think that's the reason. But it makes a lot of sense nowadays, and it's kind of the way things are happening now, and we'll see what happens after the CBA because that could very well change. But it makes a lot of sense from the player's perspective because look, who doesn't want to make $60 million in 1 year? Who doesn't want to make $40 million in 1 year? And then 3 years go by, and then you could go get another whole payday. So Bo Bichette's on what, 3 year deal? He could play that 3 year deal, make all the money from the Mets. He'll be 30 years old, and then he could get a 200 plus, 300 plus $1 million contract on top of that, like a 9-10 year deal. So you could get paid twice as a player. You're getting all this money up front, and you're still getting the opportunity later on to make even more money. Like it makes sense for both sides. And also, if you look at it from like the team's perspective, like yeah, it's a lot of money up front, but if this guy's bad, it's like a 3 year commitment and then he's off our books. So
Yeah.
it does make a lot of sense, but it seems like the Yankees don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah, it's well put. And my personal theory, I'm curious what you guys think about this, is we know the Yankees, and I imagine they have a big like whiteboard or big outline of every single player and how much they're worth, and they want to squeeze as much value out of it. So you add on years, I guess that's their logic of, or they're thinking that of how to get value. So when you look at like these short-term contracts and you're paying a guy $40 million for a season or 2 years, they're thinking like, oh, no way, because it doesn't fit their standards. Like we haven't even seen the Yankees in like conversations with these types of deals. It's like they know, or they think they know, that it's bad. Who knows?
I mean, you can't say the contracts age poorly. I know that because they're so short
Yeah.
that they don't ever really age. I mean, and remember, the Minnesota did it with Correa a couple years ago, which is why we ended up with the Josh Donaldson fiasco. Minnesota's not a big market team, not in terms of baseball. That's all I'm saying. So when I see Minnesota go and negotiate a deal like the one that they eventually signed with Carlos Correa, they went for it and they tried it. And listen, did it work out? No, but they tried it. You know what I'm saying? They gave it a shot. And the Correa, you can't say that Correa wasn't given a fair shake out there in Minnesota. He was. It just didn't work. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't stay healthy enough. It's like they had the pieces though. You know what I mean? Buxton, Correa, Rolls Royce Lewis, my guy. I loved that offense for a time. I was like, whoa, this team could be pretty good. And then they just couldn't stay healthy together.
Yeah.
But they went for it. They tried it with that short-term deal. It didn't work out. They end up hitting the eject cord, and Correa ends up somehow back in Houston.
Yeah.
But yeah, if even smaller market teams are trying it, it really does beg the question to the Yankees, like, what's the deal here? Like,
Yeah.
why not? And now at this point in the offseason, I mean, I don't think it's a realistic possibility. I mean, unless they're gonna do that with Cody Bellinger, but I don't see that, not now. But yeah, we'll see going forward if they ever try it.
Yeah. And those like eject buttons or like blow it up plans, they are able to happen because it's a short-term deal. Like the Twins were able to get prospects back from the Astros because they were like, this is not working out. Let's send him off to Houston. It's whatever. Like if you sign a guy for 8 years, a team is not taking on 8 years and all that salary. But hey, if it's a couple years, maybe 3 years, yeah, we'll do that because we're trying to win right now. So if it doesn't work, you still have the opportunity in place to go out and deal that player elsewhere. It really just seems like it makes a lot of sense for all parties involved. I get it's somewhat of a new thing. We haven't really seen this done, like ever really. But I do think the Yankees need to get a little bit more creative and at least try something like that because there's been a lot of players the past few free agencies that could have very well helped the Yankees. And I talked to Christian on the phone the other day, and one of the first players that came to my mind was Blake Snell. 2024 when he went to the Giants. Like imagine if the Yankees had Juan Soto and Blake Snell on the same team. Who knows? Maybe that World Series is a little bit different. I don't know, but I just think you're missing out on so many good players that could have a huge impact for the New York Yankees.
And you also keep in mind, like, the Yankees aren't a small market team. So even if they do sign a guy and it doesn't work out at all, it's like $30 million just down the drain. The Yankees have enough money where they can afford to make those mistakes. And it's not like you hand out the wrong contract, like Angels giving a contract to Anthony Rendon and then they're just screwed for the next 10 years or whatever. Yankees have so much flexibility, so that's why it doesn't make sense that they almost operate like a small market team sometimes, not in terms of how much they spend, but in terms of how picky they are with the players they get.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, but the pickiness I would also say stems from, and this is a whole other, bag of worms here, but I think the pickiness stems from our analytics department. Those people seem to be very nitpicky on what they like and what they don't like, and the things they like are really kind of weird, and the things they don't like also don't make sense to the fans a lot of times. But it's just kind of how the Yankees operate. They believe in what they believe in. They see what they see, and they value players the way they value players. And we kind of just have to get with it or get lost in a sense, because it's like, it really doesn't matter how much we scream and shout and whatever. They're still going to go and do things like signing Trent Grisham for $22 million. And we're going to have to watch it. You know what I mean? Like you'll do that deal, right? Maybe we looked over, when you asked that question, maybe we just completely looked over the most creative deal that they had done in the last couple of years, because it was one that didn't really get received unilaterally positively. But Trent Grisham might be the one. I would say maybe he could be the one. Signing Trent Grisham for 1 year, $22 million. I mean, it's creative.
Yeah, and to be honest, I believe it was accidental.
Same.
Like,
I don't care what they say. No.
It doesn't make sense.
Especially since they have Jones and Dominguez too. Like that's the other thing. Like we've talked about this all offseason, but if they re-sign Cody Bellinger, you'd have to think Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez, one of them is on the way out, because there's simply not enough room. And even if you, let's say you hypothetically get rid of Jones and you want to keep Dominguez, where is he going to ever play? Because it's just going to be Bellinger, Grisham, and Judge. Like that's going to be the show. And if Bellinger's locked up long term, like that's going to be it. I guess when Grisham signs elsewhere after this year, I guess then you could put Dominguez out there in the outfield or something. But like that's going to be an issue to the Yankees are going to have to figure out if they re-sign Cody Bellinger, because you can't have Spencer Jones in AAA and Dominguez is only 22 years old. he needs development. You can't have the guy like playing every other day. So it's a, I mean, it's a good problem to have, but is it really? Like,
No.
I don't know.
And also this goes back to the whole like Yankees operating like a small market team thing. It was over a 4th round draft pick. Who cares? Who cares? Why is that risking? Why would you risk like throwing off your whole offseason plan just to maybe get a 4th round draft pick? It's like what Ryan says this all the time. Brian Cashman trying to be the smartest guy in the room. It's like sometimes, yeah. And look, I'm not saying that the Yankees are stupid and they don't have reasoning behind what they do, but sometimes you do just have to make the obvious move, and like it doesn't have to be a whole mental game. Frustrating.
Look at the Dodgers. I mean, they've made a career at this point off of making the obvious move because they have money. When you have money, when you're a organization in a big market like the Yankees, like the Mets, like the Dodgers, like the Cubs, like the Red Sox, you don't have to make it as difficult as they make it. They choose to make it this like four-dimensional chess every offseason. It's really not that though. Like you still are the New York Yankees. You just have chosen to operate like the New York Pirates. And at the end of the day, it doesn't change that. I mean, just because Hal Steinbrenner goes out and says, I mean, you guys don't know, I have to send $100 million to the city of New York. Like, we're not hearing that and saying, oh, wow, poor Hal, $100 million. We know that you make 7 to 8 times that every year owning this team. And yes, we know that there's operating costs involved. But we also know that if the operating costs were that high and you were hemorrhaging money and you weren't making all that money, you wouldn't be scared to open up your books. The reason that you won't open up the books is because the voices would get even louder if we saw how much money you guys actually made. And that's fine. It's bad business to open up your book. I don't want him to do that. I just don't want him to cry poor at the same time. Stick to what your superpower is. The Yankee superpower used to be being able to outspend everybody. Now they've gotten gun shy because other spenders have entered the chat. You didn't think it was going to be like this forever, right? You thought everybody was just going to watch you guys have all the fun in the 90s and the early 2000s and they weren't going to have any? No. Eventually somebody was going to throw their hat into the ring and do the same thing that you were doing and try to find the same results. Enter the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they're doing it really well. God bless them. Congratulations. Yeah. Why are we cowering in fear in a corner somewhere? We should be spending right there with them. Yeah. And yes, I know it's no guarantee that we'll beat them in a World Series, but again, famous words from our own organization. It's a crapshoot, right? You never know. We might just beat them.
Yeah. And Christian brought up a great point the other day when we were talking on the phone, and I don't mean to steal your thunder here, Christian, but the last time the Yankees won a World Series is when they went out and spent all that money. Yeah. They got AJ Burnett, CC Sabathia, went out, traded for Nick Swisher. Like, that's the last time they won, is when they put, all hands on deck and went out and got all those players. So it's interesting that they're like hesitant and they don't want to, go out and always get the big fish. And I wondered how different it, like you said, Hal has to give the city of New York $100 million. Like, is it that much different than what it's like in LA? Like, LA's got to be super rich. They, the Dodgers probably got to give LA so much freaking money. That's the reason they defer all this money, because their players don't want to pay the property tax and all that. So I couldn't imagine it's that like substantially different, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it's what you just said about 2009, Ryan. Like, it's not rocket science. What happened after that season? George Steinbrenner died. I made a TikTok about this the other day, and Michael Kay was the one who originally addressed it, that ever since George Steinbrenner died, the Yankees, he has not heard a single person in the Yankees front office repeat the winner or World Series or bust mentality. It's not a thing anymore. It died with George. And like, kind of what I was talking about is like, yeah, obviously we know you can't win a World Series every year. And if you won a World Series once every 3 years, you'd be like one of the greatest sports teams ever. So it's not necessarily like true to that, but it's about the mentality and the complacency. Because at what point, like, okay, we get it. Yeah, making the playoffs is a success. But what about, wasting one of the greatest hitting primes of all time and not winning a World Series with that? Is that a failure, or is that just it's like they need to look at it in a bigger scope sometimes, like this is kind of a big problem. And I don't think they have that in them because it's so, to your point, Francis, analytically driven and data oriented.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that I also saw, and I was actually I was glad that Michael K said it because it was something that I had been suspecting for years. Um, Credit to Pete and pretty much everybody over at the U. We've been saying this for a very long time. It's clear as day that the Yankees no longer operate under that belief. Like that's no longer the mantra, at 161 River Ave. It just isn't. That championship or bust mentality, that World Series or bust, that if you don't end up as World Series champions at the end of the year, it's a failure. It's gone. Like it's done. I would only tweak K's response and say that it didn't die with George. There are guys out there who still live that mentality. Two of them are analysts for Fox Sports right now and have nothing to do with the New York Yankees other than talking about the Yankees. And Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez, they say it all the time. Derek Jeter is still, you know what I'm saying, playing that trumpet every single year that, hey, either you win as a World Series as a Yankee or the season is a failure. He hasn't changed. He still believes it. I'm sure Jorge Posada still believes it. He's actually going to, be one of the coaches for Team Italy in the WBC. I can't wait to see it. I love it. There's people out there that I know still believe that, still live by that mantra. And if they had something to do with the Yankees organization, probably would still push that agenda. But currently, right now, who in-house? No, I don't see anybody with it in-house. I just don't. I think that Hal Steinbrenner is more concerned with the profit margins and what the numbers are financially every year. I think that Brian Cashman is concerned with building a team that is analytically sound so that if they do win, all the credit is kind of directed towards him, how they won. And I think Aaron Boone I think his directive is not necessarily building a championship team, if not togetherness. You know what I mean? Just building a team that's nice to each other in the clubhouse, that it's having a good time, and that doesn't create, too much drama. You know what I mean? Because I really think that's what he's there for, to kind of curb any drama or anything like that. Like, no. Like, let's make sure this is a happy-go-lucky clubhouse, win or lose. They still think that they're the best and all that. Like, let's make sure it's that.
Yeah, and to your, I should have included this, but Michael K also said that the only people who repeat that mantra is Aaron Judge and Derek Jeter. And of course, A-Rod too, but like then what's going on there? Because then you have mixed messaging, so the captain of your team is saying it's a failure if we don't win, but then secretly the Yankees are all like, yes, we made it to the playoffs. We're all good, guys. How does that work? So I don't, like, is it?
Yeah. I'm sure it's something the Yankees don't say. It's probably not like, hey guys, like we're trying to make the playoffs this year. Whatever happens after that happens. Like, I'm sure they don't say like the playoffs is a success for us. I'd be shocked if they said that. But it's kind of the lack of, like, I guess, intensity, knowing that like there's going to be repercussions if we don't get the goal. Like, we don't go out there and win the World Series, knowing that, I can go out there, pimp a home run, it hits off the back of the wall, and I'm not going to get benched, or I'm going to run the bases sloppy and there's going to be no repercussions. There's no discipline, which kind of gives that messaging like, hey, this is okay, this is acceptable, I'm not going to get penalized. I'm sure it's something the Yankees don't directly say, but when you're allowing things like that to happen, you can read the room, and that's kind of how the Yankees view it. And the thing with Cashman is too, like a lot of these ex-Yankees, Jeter, A-Rod, we talked about Don Manningly, like a lot of these ex-Yankees have problems with Brian Cashman. Reggie Jackson, like for whatever reason, we're not there. We don't totally know why, but it seems like there's a lot of disconnect between Brian Cashman, Jeter, and A-Rod, and the rest of those former Yankees. I don't know why, but I think that is definitely interesting. And those are guys who won championships. And, one guy's Mr. October, the other one 5 rings. So, it's interesting for sure.
You bring up a good point when you bring up the specific people who have those issues with Cashman, even on the current Yankees. Aaron Judge is a stand-up guy. He's as mild-mannered as you're going to find people. He is the quintessential Superman, right? Clark Kent off the field and Superman when he's on it. So you're not going to hear him say this, but I think it's pretty common knowledge that he does not like Brian Cashman, and that if it was up to Brian Cashman, we probably lose Aaron Judge. If Hal Steinbrenner didn't wake up and have a moment of lucidity and say, "Wait a minute, like let me get on the phone with this guy. Like let me take this call with Aaron Judge and see like what it is he wants and if we can get this done."
Yeah.
Because it was leaning towards the other direction. I mean, we clown John Heyman for the arson Judge thing all the time, right? I mean, there's some people on Twitter who celebrate it like every year on the and have your fun. I get it. But it happened because of Brian Cashman. If I was John Heyman, I would be so mad at Brian Cashman that that's a thing, because it's Cashman's fault that it was a thing. The only reason that anybody in the know believed that it was a strong possibility was because that from what they had seen and heard about Brian Cashman around those negotiations was he was still staying, firm with his offer, and he didn't want to go to the 36 million or whatever it was for Aaron Judge. I mean, he got 40 million in the end, but he didn't want to go to the 360 for Judge or whatever. Like that was a Brian Cashman thing. So I think even Aaron Judge is a guy who probably at the end of his career is gonna have mixed feelings about Brian Cashman. Why is that? Think about it. Guys like Jeter, guys like A-Rod, guys like Aaron Judge, Reggie Jackson, Don Madden. Like, what is that? What is that?
There's something that's like, I mean, I've heard of the whole Derek Jeter and the Troy Tulowitzki. I remember that was like a massive thing, but it seems like it's a lot deeper than just that. There obviously is some major disconnect between the Yankees organization, Brian Cashman, and some of these ex-Yankees. It's honestly a little weird because, I mean, these guys basically gave the Yankees so much success, like championships, something that Brian Cashman has said, like, we're trying to win championships. Like, these guys went out there and did that. And it's kind of interesting that there's like beef between them because at the end of the day, they both won. They were on the same side. They weren't going against one another. So, Cashman was the one building the team. Jeter and A-Rod, they were playing for him. So it's weird that there's some like bad blood there. I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely hard to wrap your head around that, especially as a fan. It's really unique. It's really weird.
Yeah, and I want to almost finish off the point that, because you were mentioning, Ryan, like, they don't blatantly like say, it's a failure or, it was a success. We made the playoffs. But I'll say this, their offseason moves directly reflect it. And, I mentioned this same thing in the TikTok, but like 2023, they missed the playoffs, like colossal failure. And look at the offseason they had and look at what they did that season. They went to the World Series for the first time since 2009, and acquired a generational talent because there was a sense of urgency because it was a failure. Like, imagine if they had that mentality for the past 5 years and they were that aggressive every offseason. I mean, this could be a very differently constructed team. It could be a team close to the Dodgers. But they don't.
2023 is a big miss. Every time I look back to that year, I'm like, that's a big miss. I mean, the same way that the Yankees kind of had a easier route, I'm not going to say cakewalk like some people did in 2024. 2023 was another one of those years where the Yankees would have been halfway decent, you know what I'm saying, and played solid and gotten, just literally just gotten hot and been playing good baseball come October. They probably go to the World Series. And who knows? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? I mean,
that was the Diamondbacks, right?
Yeah, it was Texas and the Diamondbacks. You imagine if it was the Yankees and the Diamondbacks that year? Like, I mean, we might not. We might be singing a completely different tune in 2020 because we might be sitting here saying, "Well, I mean, they won 2-3 years ago. I mean, whatever."
Yeah.
But no, they did. They missed the playoffs entirely. I mean, the best thing we got that year was the Judge. I mean, obviously Judge and everything, but that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done those big moves before. I think it's just kind of the consistency. Like, they went out and got Garrett Cole like in 2019, right? The 2017-18, like they were missing that like legit shutdown guy, and that's the reason they were losing to the Astros. And they kind of corrected that mistake of not trading for Garrett Cole, and they went out and they signed him. That's one thing I talk to Christian about all the time. Like the Yankees not getting Verlander or not getting Garrett Cole before he
Mm-hmm.
went to the Astros. I mean that killed the Yankees. That definitely could have cost
Yep.
them a championship. But they did sign Garrett Cole. They did go out there and bring in Juan Soto. It's just more of like that consistency. And if you look at what they're doing this offseason, I mean, you see the other teams in the American League East, and like if the Yankees make some upgrades, like they have a legitimate shot, but they just seem so like complacent. They believe that their team right now is good enough and they think they can compete. And who knows? They could prove us wrong. Maybe they just go into the season and they dominate. That's certainly possible, and as fans will shut up. But like, it's just I don't know. Like I feel like the Yankees are close, but it doesn't seem like they want to pull the trigger on anything.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that could almost segue into, I mean, could we put on some fake optimism, or what do we think's gonna happen? Because at least like now the problem is, at least when we would hop on, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we could dream about like, all right, maybe Bellinger goes somewhere else, and then they just pull the trigger on like a Tucker or a Bichette. I don't know what to tell all you guys. I mean, maybe we'll sign Cody Bellinger, but it's kind of looking like the Yankees aren't budging. I don't see how the Mets or Blue Jays don't land him. The Mets, just because they have a ton of money to throw, and I mean they traded away Brendan Nimmo. They were aggressively in the pursuit for Tucker, so we know they want a corner outfielder. David Stearns said that the number one priority, despite the moves they've made this offseason, but their number one priority was to upgrade at defense. That's Cody Bellinger. And if not the Mets, the Blue Jays. Blue Jays were willing to go 10 years on Tucker. They're willing to give length. That's exactly what Cody Bellinger wants. I don't see the Yankees landing him. And if that happens, I don't even want to know what this team's going to look like or who's going to be in the outfield or yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's real simple. I look at Cody Bellinger's market the same way I've kind of been looking at it the entire time. And I feel like the truth of the matter is Scott Boras seems to be somebody who's just waiting for another team to show true interest so that can be the deal that's made. But I feel like with every day that passes by, it just shows me that the interest in Cody Bellinger has always kind of been lukewarm at best from other teams not named the New York Yankees. I mean, the Mets lost Kyle Tucker, and a little over 12 hours later, they were signing Bo Bichette. They didn't waste any time. Yeah. Why was the immediate pivot from Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, and not Cody Bellinger? I mean, they were looking for the outfielder. That's what they would do. They had a deal on the table for $55 million for Kyle Tucker, and they got snubbed, and he took $60 a year to go play with the Dodgers, understandably so, but still snubbed. They pivot to Bo Bichette, and they give Bo Bichette, what was it, $42 million a year?
Yeah.
The next 3 years. Right there, that kind of told me that all that smoke about the Mets and Cody Bellinger, it might not be. I'm not saying that there's no interest there whatsoever, but I don't think it's as hot and heavy as Scott Boras and other people would want us to believe it is, because they could have pivoted directly to Bellinger right there that night. And if you go to Cody Bellinger that night and you add the extra year that the Yankees don't want to add and have stood firm in not adding, you might have been signing Cody Bellinger the next morning instead of Bo Bichette. And yet they went and signed Bo Bichette instead. And they gave him $42 million AAV, which leads me to believe that if you have money to spend, cool. But you gave 42 of the 55 that you had on the table for Kyle Tucker. That's already gone. Leads me to believe, there's 13 million left to play with there. There might be a little bit more, but is there 32.5 million more to add AAV wise? I know Steve Cohen has got endless money and I get it, but is that there? And even if it is there for 7 years? Is it there? The 7 years is kind of what makes me balk at the marriage between Bellinger and the Mets. David Stearns doesn't sign that deal. It's just not a David Stearns move. It's not a David Stearns move. He likes the short-term deals. He loves the creative deals. If they could get Cody Bellinger to agree to signing, I don't know, 37, 38, dare I say 40 million for 3 years or 4 years, I think David Stearns will be all over it. The problem is I don't know that Cody Bellinger goes for something like that.
Yeah, I think age has a big factor in that because Bichette is 27. What's Bellinger? I think he's 31.
31.
So like that's the thing. Like if Bichette goes out there and balls out for 3 years, he'll be 30 years old, right? Aaron Judge entered free agency when he was 30 years old. Like
Yep.
Bichette could get like a $300+ million contract for 8, 9, 10 years. Bellinger, right? 35. Yeah, he's going to make all that money up front. But then at 35, if he's not producing on that contract, he could be out of the league in a couple years. Like it can
Exactly.
happen
Yeah.
just like that. So I think that's definitely part of it. But I mean, you'd have to think that Bellinger makes a lot of sense for the Mets on paper. If
Yes.
you look at the two players, I mean, I don't think they're that far off. I mean, Bellinger's going to give you more power. He's going to give you a lot better defense. Bichette's going to put the ball in play, hit for a higher average. But I mean, when you look at the two players, I don't know if you could really put one over the other. I think it would just be which players fits you best for
Fits
your
you
team.
better.
And you could definitely argue that Bellinger fits the Mets more than Bichette does, especially since Bichette's going to be playing third base, position he's never played before.
And they have third baseman.
Yeah.
So like that was my point. That's my point pretty much right there. It's if I was looking at the Mets before that deal was done, to me, Bellinger was the guy who fit them way more. And yet they pivoted to Bo Bichette. I don't know if it's a Scott Boras thing. I don't know if Cohen and David Stern said, listen, we did the Boras thing last year with Soto and it worked well for us. But I mean, how many times are we going to go on that merry-go-round? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times are we going to buy a ticket to that circus? We already know what that is. And we're not going to, do we want to commit to being his plaything every November, December, January, that he just throws our name in there because everybody knows that Steve has endless money and whatever? Like, do we want to do that, or do we kind of want to put our foot down? The Mets can send a very strong message by not entertaining Cody Bellinger at all this offseason. And it would send a message that, listen, I know Boras has been able to kind of use the Yankees and whatever. He ain't gonna be able to do it with he's not gonna be able to do it with the Mets. Now, I don't think they would spite themselves by doing that. I'm just saying it would send one hell of a message. In regards to Toronto's very interesting because they had the longest deal on the table for Kyle Tucker, and again, yet he looked at that, laughed it off, and went to Los Angeles. Toronto's conundrum is getting people to go play in Canada. I think.
Yeah, that's
It's sad. Toronto's a beautiful city. I don't know if either of you guys have been. Toronto's a beautiful city.
I've been wanting to go really bad.
Definitely check it out. Me and Pete talk about going to catch a game up there all the time. Maybe 2026 is the year we finally do it. Because I mean, it's a beautiful city, great place to go. I mean, but for whatever reason, it just seems like they can't get players to commit to signing there long term.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I mean, they got Vladdy. Good for them. I love Vladdy Jr. I'm really glad that he. Believe it or not, I'm glad that he stayed with them because I think it's good for baseball when players do that and teams are able to, retain their homegrown talent.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, Ohtani kind of, snubbed them at the dance. Kyle Tucker kind of just left them at the altar. Like, it keeps happening with them. So with Cody Bellinger to Toronto, hey, Francis is going to have to see that one to believe it. Do I think he makes sense for them? 1,000%. I think you add him to that lineup and forget about it. The moment that Cody Bellinger signs a deal with Toronto, you're burying the New York Yankees. I think that's it. We're done.
Yeah,
I don't know where you go from. I mean, at that point, like, you're taking a Toronto team that was better than you, just dominated you in the regular season, in the postseason, and you're gonna take what was a really big bright spot for the Yankees in 2025, and you're gonna give them to Toronto. I don't even know, like, what?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the Yankees will look at it as, oh, well, you know what? We're happy because we offered him a fair contract and he didn't take it. So the Blue Jays are the idiots. But, like, no, you're the idiot. I mean, he's the last big free agent on the board. I think the Yankees have to land him, but after that, they have to do even more. Just very not confident in the Yankees. And it was something that me and Ryan were saying I'm sure everyone was saying since the beginning of the offseason, like, make some moves early on, move some pieces around so that you're not just, like, holding out your entire offseason on Cody Bellinger because it's not even a guarantee that you retain him. And, of course, they didn't do that. Instead, they're stocking up the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders.
I mean, if that team doesn't win a World Series in AAA, I mean that's going to be the biggest bust in sports history. I mean that team is absolutely loaded down there in AAA. We got Seth Brown, who they just signed today. We got like 5 first basemen in AAA. I mean that team, top to bottom.
Paul DeYoung's gonna win an MVP. Just
yeah,
wait.
I mean that team's stacked.
We should cover the AAA team this year, man. We probably have a lot more fun.
Yeah, go down to Scranton. Yeah, Scranton Underground and Scranton Talks right over there.
Scranton Underground is not a bad listen. As a big fan of The Office, Scranton Underground is right up my alley. Don't tempt me with a good time.
God, that'd be fun.
God.
Yeah.
Instead, we're stuck with the Yankees.
Instead, we're stuck with the MLB version.
And their pivot options. I mean, Harrison Bader, I like. He's a clutch player, good defense. But the thing that took me off with the thing that took me out of it with him is like 659 OPS versus left-handed pitching. So what the hell is the point of a platoon? There's no way you platoon that. Like if he can't hit left-handed pitching. Look at the overall stats. I think they're solid, and he obviously showed he could play in New York in big time games. But Austin Hayes makes absolutely no sense. Luis Robert Jr. That one really makes no sense at all to me. Yeah, I don't know. I think the obvious move is go out and get Freddy Peralta. I think they have the prospect capital to very easily go out and get that deal done. I do think that they actually will get that deal done, and I think Freddy Peralta will be a Yankee in 2026. Bellinger, I'd say, is 50-50 on whether the Yankees bring him back. I could definitely see him going to Toronto. That makes a lot of sense, especially batting like behind a guy like Vlad Jr., Ernie Clement at the top or bottom. Like their lineup is stacked. But other than that, I don't know. I really think also another thing a lot of people haven't been talking about is the Yankees bullpen, which was the weak link of the team last year. They had the 13th highest ERA in the American League when it comes to bullpen last year. Bullpen was not good at all last year. David Bednar is a solid closer. I think he's like a fringe all-star closer. I mean, I think Doval will be better than what he was with the Yankees last year, but like the rest of the bullpen, I mean, come on. I don't know. I mean, especially with all the starters hurt early on in the year, I do not like that bullpen at all.
It's bad. It's really bad. I mean, it's like, and look, I'm sure it's going to be quality, and there's going to be like a month during the season where it's like the Yankees bullpen is the best in baseball, and it's some dominant stretch because Matt Blake is a very, very talented pitching coach, and he gets the best out of guys. But then it also comes to like October, and you have guys who have never been in situations like this before, and you're just expecting them to be great. It's Bednar, and then after Bednar, there's a lot of question marks. I'll say that.
They're all question marks after Bednar. And I mean, look, as good as Bednar was for the New York Yankees, let's be real here. Bednar himself is kind of a question mark. He didn't do it for the whole year. You know what I'm saying? We didn't see it done for the entire season. I love Bednar. I truly believe if I had to bet, I would bet on Bednar working out and being a great closer for the New York Yankees. But even with him, there's doubts. There is no more Mariano Rivera. Those days are gone. Like I don't think anybody can literally say like, no, we're pretty 100% sure that the guy that we put out there every game of the night is going to get it done. I mean, the best of the best in baseball today kind of give you, they make you scratch your head, a couple times a season. It's going to happen. But if you know that and you're the New York Yankees, then you kind of got to do something there. I mean, you see, what it's going to be, especially where the pitching is right now. If you don't trade for Peralta, if you trade for Peralta, I think it changes a lot. Because if you trade for Peralta, then we're probably not going to look for starts out of Paul Blackburn and Ryan Yarbrough. Like, I don't think we're going to need that. I don't think we're going to need not both of them at least. And we're going to be getting really quality starts, even with Cole and Rodon on the mend. And Schmidt, sorry. So we'll be in a much better position than we are right now. Right now, we're in a position where going into the opening day, dude, we're gonna be using a lot of that bullpen early on. Like it's going to be taxed, and it's gonna be a situation. It could be one of those situations where by June we're already looking and we're saying, "Whoa, man! Like look at some of the innings these guys have gotten." Like, look, if we get to June and I'm looking at Fernando Cruz, like, sheesh, brother, that's a lot. I mean, And remember, we got WBC this year, so guy like Fernando Cruz going to play for Puerto Rico, like he's gonna pitch some high leverage innings at the top of the season. Like, is he a guy that is gonna be able to be durable throughout the whole year? I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to think, worst case scenario here. I'm just saying, like, don't you kind of have to plan for this if you're the New
You
York
do.
Yankees? Just saying.
And it's, going to that bullpen too. It's not like those guys are shut down too. It's not like you're going to a bullpen early on. Yeah, the guys throw a lot of innings, but they'll shut the door down. Like, I don't know. I don't think that's going to be the case either. So yeah, I don't like that bullpen very much. I do think the Yankees need to do work on that for sure.
I think the best solution too, because like, am I the biggest advocate for the Yankees going out and like trading for a big name in the bullpen or even signing? Although I did want them to be in on Diaz. Like we saw, it didn't work with Devin Williams, right? You trade for a proven, very good relief pitcher, and he just completely folded, right, in New York. But I do think there's a balance, and that's why I think the best solution is, yes, a guy like Freddy Peralta, push your starters. It's a good problem if your starters are overflowing into the bullpen. And, like, we don't have to decide right now who's going to get moved to the bullpen. But, like, whether it's a Cam Schlittler, a Luis Heel, a Will Warren, whoever it is, those guys also might be able to even elevate their stuff in the bullpen. Only going 2-3 innings. You can throw harder, exert more energy. And then, you have your 2-3 inning guys, because I've said this before. I think the Yankees bullpen was at like kind of its strongest point when they had a guy like Mike King who just could bail them out. Like, all right, your bullpen's depleted one day. Give all your high leverage guys a rest, and Michael King, you just finish this game. And it's not like you're not doing an Aaron Boone classic punt game. You're still, in it.
I like the Michael King years. I mean, those are fun. I feel like that role is a very, very difficult role to kind of fill successfully.
True.
I mean, who would they get? Who would they do that with now? I'm not.
Well, I'm
sure.
almost, because like Cam would be cool, but I want Cam starting games. So
Exactly, we need Cam starting game. So is it a situation where it's one of the kids? Because if you don't trade. If you don't make the trade for Peralta, then you probably still have Elmer Rodriguez and Carlos Lagrange. Then is it a situation where you give one of them a look like that?
it might be, and I think it will be Lagrange. Is that how to pronounce it? Lagrange?
So I've always pronounced it Lagrange, but I mean
Lagrange. I like that.
I'm half Dominican. I'm pretty sure that's how I've heard it over there. If he comes up, it wouldn't shock me though if he came up and just said it was pronounced a completely different way, because it's happened before. So, don't I wouldn't worry about it until he tells us all exactly how to say it. That is funny because we spoke with him last year. I should that's not the exact question I wanted to ask him in that moment.
Well, if you didn't,
how do I say your last name? Like, I do that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm excited for him though. I think he's going to be an impact arm in the bullpen.
He's fun to watch. I'll tell you that. There's obviously, like with any prospect, there's a couple things that make him rough around the edges, but I'll tell you one thing, that's one live arm. And again, there's a reason why his name is a name that comes up when other teams are looking at the Yankees system. It's tantalizing. I mean, a kid that young throws that freaking hard with complimentary pitches like he has, a lot of potential there. Even if he is, best case scenario, just a bullpen guy, like some people have said, some people believe that his ceiling is going to be the bullpen. That's fine. If he ends up just being a bullpen guy, he's not just going to be a bullpen guy. He's going to be one of the best high leverage relievers in baseball. That's what I see when I look at him. He's that freaking good. You're talking about an almost, the potential to have like a Mason Miller like fastball. That's that's nothing to sneeze at, man. It's really good.
Yeah, 100%.
It's elite. All right, should we wrap it?
I think so.
Francis, thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, check out
you.
NYYU Underground. I'm sure you guys all know. We'll be back. Hopefully, the Yankees can do something, anything besides like a Seth Brown. But I guess we'll see.
thank you guys for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Of course.
I'm so glad that we've been collabing. You guys are great.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
have to
Appreciate
do
it.
this
Sure.
again. All right, thank you for
Sure.
joining, guys.